Hey Robert, why are all the snacks here?
Not now. I have to get through this application, okay? I stress you, okay?
Why are you applying for college now? We still have a few months left to go.
I need to stay ahead of the game.
Whatever.
Hey, what's your dream job?
Stealing your food, I guess.
No, it's a question on the application and it gives like a drop-down menu. Do you think I should choose artist?
No, why would you choose artist?
I'm good at art.
Yeah, I guess that would be true if we broaden the definition to people who can draw stick figures.
Have you not seen any of my paintings?
You can't just hold up a stock photo and say it's yours.
Okay then.
Why don't you just choose landfill worker or something?
Why in the world would I choose landfill worker?
Because you like being outside and stuff.
I've never liked being outside.
You don't like talking to people.
I talk in front of an audience all the time on the Late Bell.
No, you cower in front of a green screen and read off a prompter.
I did actual interviews for this.
I don't know, your room smells disgusting and I thought you'd be right at home in a landfill. It probably explains why you don't have a girlfriend.
Do you exist just to insult me?
Yep.
Okay. Hey look, they have an option for extremely low budget show host.
Click it.
It's the Late Bell! With a cold open by Sarah Hunter. Special guest starring Miss Boudreaux and Jacob Panzarella. And creative writing by Nick Rasul. And now, right from his basement, it's your host, Robert Hunter!
Welcome everyone, the bell has rung, class has begun, please take your seats. How's everyone doing tonight? So, it's finally begun, the long-awaited time of summer vacation. Yes, those glorious 2 months without school, where we can relax, travel, and basically do as we please, have finally arrived. It's a wonderful time. Oh, I'm sorry, what was that? No, don't you dare make me say it. I don't care if I lose my contract. No, fine, I'll say it. Summer school. But you know, some of us have got to get ahead of the rest of the pack, after all. Everything in the name of college. Speaking of school and education, as we do here on the Late Bell, let's talk about Betsy DeVos, who once said for her senior quote, "Well, I do support for-profit education." Wait, crap, did I just say that out loud? So she's recently been facing criticism for her comments on undocumented students in schools that would have moved the responsibility of reporting undocumented students from herself, the education secretary, to the teachers and administrators of schools, being quoted saying, "It's a local community decision." The criticism comes from the fact that immigration law is federal law and not administered by the states, never mind the local schools. DeVos basically stated that she believes the schools should bear the burden of reporting undocumented students to ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Yes, because we all know that aside from coming up with lesson plans, grading tests and essays, leading extracurricular activities, meeting with parents and students outside of class, going to meetings, writing student performance reports, doing teacher observations, fixing building systems, and running an entire school of mostly uninterested students, teachers and students have plenty of time to search through every single student's records, take note of every suspicious one, do an extensive report, and finally report it to the ICE, not to mention that every school in the entire nation is sure to have the same priorities, methods, and resources for investigating undocumented students. You know, if only there was just some legal precedent saying whether or not this is actually legal. Oh wait, we do. Supreme Court case Plyer v. Doe ruled that schools can't discriminate against students based on their immigration status. In addition, it said that denying students a proper education, no matter their status, would contribute to the creation and perpetuation of a subclass of illiterates within our boundaries, surely adding to the problems and costs of unemployment, welfare, and crime. I'm also told that we have exclusive access to some of the new teaching material developed by DeVos and her team. One of the questions on one of her worksheets is right here. Who is the first president of the United States? Also, how long have you resided in the United States? Please provide your street address, zip code, date of birth, and social security number in the form below. So also in recent news, a Kentucky math teacher and man voted most likely to go bald in his senior yearbook, Travis Brenda, won a primary for State House. Yes, I do agree. We need more teachers in office, especially after we saw teachers across the nation walk out for better pay. So, Kentucky legislators, I just want to prepare you for some pop quizzes. I'm guessing that they'll be more like stat questions, like calculate the probability of a bill passing that would increase public school funding. Better get studying. And so with that, I think it's finally time for the report card. So let's put all this in the grade book. Betsy DeVos tries to make schools take care of federal law. She also forgets a major Supreme Court case that throws a major roadblock in her plan. And teachers might finally get more representation in the Kentucky House. Overall, I think I would grade this a W for way too many plot twists. See me after class. We've got a great show for y'all. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm joined now by Miss Boudreaux. Miss Boudreaux, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I've been teaching for 8 years, and I teach AP Lang and 10th grade honors, and I really love it.
All right, so how do people tend to react when they hear that you're a high school teacher?
It's usually a mixture of, they're usually both impressed and kind of horrified. And I've actually had a lot of people tell me that, like, you know, when they find out that I'm a teacher, they start to tell me about their favorite teacher that they have had. And that's always kind of nice to hear.
So previously you said that if it were up to you, you wouldn't have students take so many exams at the end of the course. What would you instead replace that with?
Probably nothing. I think that exams are important sometimes. Like, for instance, I think AP exams are necessary because, you know, potentially getting college credit for taking a class in high school is pretty high stakes, and I think there does need to be an objective third party, like the College Board, to decide whether or not, you know, a student has demonstrated sufficient skill to be able to do that. But outside of that, I'm actually not an advocate of final exams. I think if you've already been assessed over something once and it has been a thoughtful and intentional assessment, there's no need to do it again. I think that standardized state testing has gotten way out of control, and we need to just do away with it. But so I probably wouldn't replace most of it with anything at all.
So you would still have some sort of assessment to assess their ability, but maybe not necessarily at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have assessments throughout the year, like at the end of each unit as we go. And I think having something additional to reassess is sort of superfluous.
So you teach AP Lang, which, like most AP classes, is incredibly rigid and standardized. How does this affect your teaching, and would you change anything about the course?
I think that AP Lang is not as rigid as some other courses are. Like, you know, for your histories, for example, you have like specific set material that you have to get through, and usually it has to go in chronological order. Because Lang is so process-based, I think there is actually some freedom within that, so I don't really feel like it's necessarily rigid. Because good writing is good writing. So most of the things that I'm teaching you guys is really part of any composition course. I think teaching Lang has actually made me a better 10th honors teacher. I don't know what I would change about the course. I think there really is a lot of teacher choice already embedded within it. So I'm kind of already have the freedom to teach the texts I want to teach and sort of go about it the way that I think is best for my students. So I don't know, there's probably not much I would change about it.
So I can understand that the essay portion isn't necessarily as structuralized, but the multiple choice portion still is very structured. So would you maybe change anything with respect to that?
I think if there's going to be a multiple choice component, the way that this multiple choice is structured is pretty dang good. I think that the questions that are, what you guys are asked, the questions you guys are asked to answer, do require like a really sort of extensive understanding of how rhetoric works. So I think if there's going to be a multiple choice component, it's well done. I do think the multiple choice is limiting in a way that the essays aren't. So I think, when we're talking about the exam as a means of showing that you've just, deserve college credit and are capable of sort of doing things on a college level, I think someone who does well on the exam has certainly demonstrated that they do deserve college credit. I don't think that someone who does not do well on the exam has shown that they aren't. So it's limited in that way. I guess if I were going to change anything, I would just do away with multiple choice.
Okay, so what do you want students to gain and take away from your class each day when they walk out of your room?
There's really two things that I really like, that I believe in, two reasons that I really believe in teaching English and literature and composition. And that's that, first of all, being able to communicate is incredibly important. Being a good sender of information, a good receiver of information, and also understanding that that's just part of like daily life, and that doesn't stop when you leave an English classroom. The other thing that I hope that my students get from reading literature is I want them to be more empathetic people, because that really, to me, is the value of reading other people's stories.
All right, thank you, Ms. Boudreaux. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Our next guest is Jacob Panzarella. Jacob, welcome.
Welcome.
Okay, then. So tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm a nihilist. I'm a flamboyant potter. I enjoy education, and I think there needs to be some reforms.
So you're a junior, and by now you've had many teachers. So what are some teaching methods or activities that have really stood out to you?
I've really enjoyed when a teacher allows a lecture to become a discussion among the class, and I feel like students are more receptive to learning that, especially when they're asking questions and, having a discussion together rather than the teacher just lecturing. I've only had 2 teachers that have done this throughout my high school career, and I wish there were more.
All right, so what classes or subjects do you feel are really helpful to you, or the ones that you can take away the most from?
Most definitely environmental science. It's taught me a lot about humans' impact on the world and like our surroundings, and it's really taught me about the affluence in the area that we live in. And when you recognize that like there's some affluence in you and in your community, you feel the need to help more people out. So I'm currently now volunteering more and doing more service.
So this has had a really big effect on you, and that's why you've been able to take so much away from it. All right, so what aspects of the education system inhibit or limit your potential to learn?
Most definitely waking up early, because in a biological sense, students like my age, adolescents our age, they need about 8 to 10 hours of sleep, and especially if they're in an AP course such as AP US History, they have rigorous amounts of work that you have to do for homework, and even in my own experience, I've had to stay up till 12 o'clock at night doing terms for AP US History. So I feel like we need to recognize that, and there should be reforms done in regards to that.
So we would maybe push back the start time of schools, or maybe make the periods a bit shorter overall. All right. So if you were an advisor to the principal, what ideas would you pitch to help improve education?
I would advise. Well, I know he can't do this now because the school has already been built, but I would advise that in the future we make schools more open and more windows, less confining rooms, because that, to me, really makes the student feel like they're in quote-unquote a prison. And also I'd like to employ a block schedule and a later time, like you said, because I feel like that would just allow students to become more receptive, especially the longer they're in the class in that day. It's less straining on their mind, especially when they have to do 6 subjects a day, rather than where you could have 3 and be more engaged in general.
Right, and going off of the more windows part, natural light is a really integral part of our biological clocks. So that would really help with that. All right, Jacob Panzarella, everyone. We'll be right back. Education is an umbrella term for the methods and systems society uses to instill our ideals and beliefs, as well as foster new philosophies and concepts into younger generations, and is seen as a hallmark for civilization. It is a tool we use to teach newer generations things we deem necessary for the growth of our society, and what we use in order to further individuality and allow students the capability for growth. It is a great tool, however. As with any tool, it can be easily used to cripple societal progress. For what happens to the individual when, instead of learning the ways of the world and humanity, they are taught to test? What happens to the individual when, instead of learning new ideals and philosophies, they are taught to obey? What happens to the individual when, instead of learning to survive and truly become respectable people, they are taught to maintain the status quo? They are disadvantaged when thrust into this world. They are trained to become drones. They are trained to leave the overall collective that makes up our society alone, to never change it, and to remain forever at their posts. Thanks everyone for watching. That's all we have. Have a good night.